How you doing, guys? Good to see you here, and today I have Ursupation, Thief, whatever you want to call it. This just appeared. This is not the heroic version of the deck, but yeah, this deck is nice, fan favorite. I've seen a lot of people playing it, so self-explanatory. This deck is very annoying to play against, and it's very rewarding type. It's more of a high risk, high reward type scenario, depending on what you're playing against. If you're playing against Abyss, if you're playing against Necrocharge Abyss, you will probably not have a good time, especially since they will trigger all their Necrocharge abilities faster, for sure. But obviously, it will reward you with just either stealing their cards or just triggering certain effects once you have 10 cards in your opponent's graveyard. So yeah. Anyways, starting with the Evolve deck, I'm playing two copies of Bellringer. Thought it was one. 2 Apostles. 3 of the Octress. She's amazing. 2 Floral Fencers and 1 Leonidas. Now, from all of this in here, this guy is nice. It's a spot removal. It's pretty good. Bellringer self-explanatory. Floral Fencer self-explanatory. And Leonidas, well, self-explanatory. This could be basically your win condition, depending on the situation. But the main card in here is going to be Octress. Octress is amazing. On Evolve, you select an opponent card and put it into the EX. He has the same effects as the non-evolved, that you could pay 8 and just basically play something from your opponent's graveyard for free. Kinda. You basically play anything for 8 from your opponent's graveyard, and it's amazing. Now, the other effect is that if you have 10 cards, your opponent has 10 cards in their cemetery. All the cards in your EX area cost 2 less to play. So this card is super amazing. It's probably going to be one of your main win conditions. So it's basically one of those cards that you really want to see in your hand and abuse as much of the effect as you can. Now, going into the main deck, starting with the cost ones, I'm just going to lay them out in here really quick and just go and run through them real quick. So we have the Servant of Ursupation. This card is amazing. Basically turns into a goblin on turn 1. Basically sends 1 card for your opponent's top deck to the graveyard. And the other effect is that each time your opponent sends 1 card from their top of your deck to the graveyard, he basically gets +1. So yeah, this card is pretty amazing. Obviously it's a 2. It can get Angelic Snipe, and it's understandable, but this card is super amazing, especially if it survives that one turn on the field. It will hit for a lot of damage. Swordman is one of those cards that just forced to rest something your opponent's field just to get rid of it. It comes up a lot. I really like him, and it's probably going to be a staple until God knows how long. But Swordman is pretty good, especially with the stats. You can play it on turn 1, and then next turn you swing for 2. So you start dealing some chip damage here and there. Next we played the spell, Vartia, whatever you call it. Look at top 4, add 1 Thief, and if you add Octress, this card goes back to your hand, so you can play it again. It's a cost 1. This card is amazing, and it's mainly more to filter through your entire deck. My first version of the deck, I was playing one of the cards from the first set. That is a spell that basically summons a Viking, Steel Clad, and a Knight, just to have more copies of the Thieves, so I don't whiff. But well, if you have to whiff, you whiff. So I just literally cut the card out. Bellringer self-explanatory, and then Quick Blader. It's a pretty amazing good card going first or any single time, especially if you have Leonidas. This card is insane. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Next we play 3 copies of Fina. Fina basically adds you any follower that costs 1, so sadly cannot add the spell, or you could just get rid of any cost 1 follower your opponent's fields. So this card, it's pretty amazing, staple for now. It's cheap, so I really recommend getting your hands on this and play it in as many decks as you can. So this card is amazing. I like it. I mean, it's a hit or miss type scenario, but it's pretty good. I really like the card. Next, for cost 2 cards, we're playing Ursuping Spineblade. Basically, deals 3 damage, Surefire Bullet with extra effects. If you have 10 or more, you deal 2 damage to the extra selected follower. So basically, it can deal 5. Your opponent has more cards in their graveyard, obviously being 10. So yeah, Surefire Bullet with the extra effect, obviously. Next, the main baddie of the game of the deck. Obviously, she has two ways to evolve. She can evolve for free if your opponent has 10 cards in their graveyard, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she can evolve for free. Or you can just pay 2 to evolve her. Her other effect is a fanfare. Sends the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. So obviously this paired with the Servant of Ursupation. Basically the Servant of Ursupation will be hitting for 4 damage on turn 2 if you have this and him on the field. This card's amazing. Really like it. Really like the design. So yeah. And then the other effects, same as the evolve one. Obviously, you can pay 8 and play any card from your opponent's graveyard for free. So obviously, but paying 8 is a long, you know, it's in case of the long game. But that effect can come up a lot. So yeah. Now going into the cost 3 cards. We're playing 3 copies of Gen Staff Commander. You really want to get your hands on the on Octress. The card's amazing. Or you could just get your hands on whatever you need. Alexander's, Leonidas, Amelia's. Gen Staff Commander is amazing. So yeah. Next, Disciple of Usurpation. This has Storm, so this basically replaces Novice Trooper. His effect on strike: send the top card of your opponent's deck to the graveyard, and if they have 10, he gets +2 attack. So he basically, like I said, it's a better Novice Trooper. The only problem with this card is that it can get hit by Angelic Snipe. Some people are playing Angelic Snipe, some people don't. A lot of people don't, but the healing for 5 damage is actually super good, especially being a cost 3 card. So yeah. And finally, to round up the cost 3 cards, obviously you need to swarm your field to overwhelm your opponent. So you're playing 3 copies of Floor Fencer. Floor Fencer is amazing, self-explanatory, unevolved, Summon, Steelclad, and Knight. Yeah, and pair that with the Leonidas Resolve, you know where it's going. For cost 4 cards, and basically from here on, I'm just gonna go into the late game cards, kinda. We're playing 1 copy of Apostle of Usurpation. His effect: your opponent puts the top 2 cards of their deck to the graveyard, and if they do, obviously, if they have 10 cards, you draw 1. So he basically replaces himself. He's super good. I really like him, and obviously he evolved for 1. You do like to use the effect to draw a card as much as I can, since I really don't want to struggle late game and just go ahead and play this, evolve him, just deal the damage, and then trade him away. The stat wise is actually pretty good. 3-4 ain't that bad. You know, it's good to trade something out, and you know, it can survive the majority of the times. But the send 2 from your opponent's top deck to the graveyard, you know, mailing the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck is pretty good. And well, yeah. Next, for one-ups, and or just to round up some of the deck, we're playing 2 copies of Imperial Swordman. This card comes up from time to time. If your opponent doesn't get rid of this card, it's going to be a problem, since it basically just deals 4 damage to it and to a follower. 4 damage to a follower and 2 damage to the leader. So this is basically a good way to either put a little bit more pressure on the field and, you know, deal damage to your opponent. The other cool thing about this card, you know, is that, well, you can just leave it there, don't do anything with it, you know, and it will just do its job. As during the end phase, so obviously the first turn, you gotta get rid of something during the end phase. Next turn, you can leave it standing up, so you can ping something for 4 damage and then 2 damage to the leader, and then, you know, swing for game when you have the chance. But this card is amazing. Your opponent usually tries to uses all the resources to get rid of this card. So yeah. Next, 1 copy of Amelia. In case you're playing against a mirror match, you can just go ahead and play Amelia, and well, she's going to get very big, and aura and ward and all the other cool things, especially with a sail, will get rid of problematic cards. 1 copy of Alexander, Sail and Rush, gets rid of your opponent's field, kind of like a pseudo word wipe, so it's pretty good. And then finally, to round out the entire deck, I'm playing 2 copies of Leonidas. This is one of the cards that I kind of want to see in my opening hand, or I really want to draw into him. Unlike Aurelia and Leonidas, these cards are just basically search targets for Gen Staff Commander in case things go wrong. If I draw them, it's nice. But this is one of those situations where one of my old deck profiles where I just search whatever I need for the situation that I am. But yeah. Other than that, this is, like I said, this is a very straightforward cookie cutter deck profile. The heroic one is a little bit different, but I feel like this one is better, so it doesn't suffer too much. Obviously, the other one's a little bit more aggressive, but yet again, I like this one a lot. I, you know, when I, the only times that I have playtested this, it's actually pretty good, and I enjoy it a lot. So yeah. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching, and peace.